There comes a time in every man's life when the storm of thought becomes unbearable, a time when the mind, once a servant of his desires, ambitions, and will, becomes his master, wild, unrelenting, and unruly. He tosses in bed at night. He walks through the day haunted by thoughts that do not belong to him, regrets of the past, fears of the future, comparisons with others, and silent cries of "Why me?" But let me tell you something: no man was born to be a slave to his mind. The mind was given to you as an instrument, not as your ruler, and those who succeed, those who create great legacies, who walk in peace and power, have learned one thing that separates them from the rest. They've discovered the formula to calm their minds, not tomorrow, not after a long retreat, but instantly. Yes, instantly. What is this formula? It is not found in a book that gathers dust on a shelf. It is not whispered from the lips of philosophers who speak in riddles. It is as close to you as your breath, as immediate as your awareness, and as powerful as your decision to apply it. Now listen carefully. The first element of this formula is awareness. I'm not talking about a vague intellectual understanding. I'm speaking of the moment you realize you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of your thoughts. When you recognize that you are watching the mind's activity from a higher place, you take your first breath of freedom. Like a man climbing out of a burning house, you realize the chaos isn't you, you're simply inside it. But you can leave. You must leave. You see, most people go through life with their eyes wide open, yet they are asleep. They respond, react, worry, compare, fear, and assume, all on autopilot. But the moment you become aware, the game changes. Now, instead of riding the wild horse of thought, you begin to hold the reins, and here's the truth. Thought cannot survive in the light of conscious awareness. It fades, it weakens, it loses its grip. The storm begins to still. The second element of this formula is acceptance. Now you may say, but I don't want to accept what I'm feeling. I want peace, not pain. But listen carefully. Resistance feeds the fire. When you resist the mind's noise, you become tangled in it. You say, I shouldn't feel this. I shouldn't think this. But the very act of resistance gives life to the thought. Acceptance, however, diffuses it. When you say, yes, I feel anxious, yes, my mind is loud, yes, the thoughts are racing, something powerful happens. You stop the war, and the moment the war ends, peace begins. Most people don't need a new life. They need a new attitude toward life. They don't need fewer problems. They need a deeper acceptance of the problems, because peace does not come from what happens to you. It comes from what happens in you. The third element of this formula is breath. Ah, yes, the sacred breath. You see, your breath is the bridge between your mind and your body. It is the anchor of the present moment, and let me tell you this, no man can suffer who is fully present. Suffering lives in memory and anticipation. It thrives in the mind's movie theater, past regrets and future worries. But the breath is not in the past or the future. It is only now. When you bring your awareness to your breath, slowly, deliberately, you cut the mind's momentum. You interrupt the broadcast. You tell your nervous system, we are safe now. And like a child who's been crying too long, your mind begins to soften, to settle, to rest. Try it. Right now, inhale deeply. Hold and exhale slowly, again and again. No thought can survive your full attention to breathe. It's the oldest medicine in the world, and it costs nothing. And the fourth element of the formula, command. Yes, you must command your mind like a king commands his army. For too long, you've let it lead you into battles you did not choose. You've let it feed you lies and repeat the opinions of others until you forgot your own voice. But you are not weak. You are not without authority. You were born with dominion, not over the world, but over yourself. And when you say to your mind, stop, I choose peace now, I choose clarity, you summon a power greater than the chaos. You activate the will. This is not wishful thinking. This is not vague positivity. This is law. The same law that governs gravity governs the power of attention. Where attention goes, energy flows, and when you direct your attention inward with authority, the mind obeys. You must begin to speak to yourself differently. No more "I can't help it," or "This is just how I am." No, that is the voice of resignation, the voice of defeat. You were born with the capacity to renew your mind. Speak it: "I am calm, I am aware, I am present, I am in control." And your mind, like a river returning to its source, begins to align with your command. Now you may wonder, how can something so simple have such power? But the truth is, all great truths are simple. Complexity is the tool of confusion. The mind loves complication. It loves analysis, rumination, overthinking. But your soul longs for stillness, simplicity. Peace, this formula, awareness, acceptance, breath, command, is not magic. It is mastery. And the man who applies it not once, not twice, but consistently, becomes unstoppable. He may face storms, but he is not moved. He may feel fear, but he is not shaken. He may hear the noise, but he does not react, because he has discovered the secret most men spend a lifetime ignoring. Peace is not found, peace is chosen. The world around you will always offer you something to worry about. News headlines, bills, criticism, comparison. But none of these have power unless you give them your attention. Do you understand that? Nothing can disturb your peace without your permission. And the moment you withdraw that permission, you rise. You transcend, you are free, and let me say this is not just about feeling better. It is about becoming better, because a calm mind creates clear decisions. A calm mind attracts better people. A calm mind speaks with power. A calm mind hears divine instruction. The man with a calm mind becomes a magnet for what he once chased. Look back through history. The giants of industry, of invention, of philosophy, of vision, they were not frantic. They were not ruled by fear. They were calm in crisis, still in storms. Why? Because they had mastered the inner world. You must do the same. Don't wait for the world to be perfect before you choose peace. Don't wait for your circumstances to align before you practice this formula. Begin now, begin here with the breath, with the moment, with your command. There will always be noise, but you don't have to live in it. You can step out, you can rise above it, you can choose differently, you can live from peace, not for it, and when you do, when you truly begin to apply this formula day by day, moment by moment, people will notice. They'll ask you, "Why are you so calm? Why aren't you stressed like the rest of us?" And you will smile, not in arrogance, but in knowing, because you'll have discovered what most never will, that the real battlefield is the mind, and the greatest victory is peace. This formula is yours. Use it. Let it become your way of life, and when the noise returns, as it will, remember, it is not stronger than you. You have the formula, you have the power, and above all, never forget this: a calm mind is the throne of power. Sit on it daily. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how quickly the mind jumps to the worst? Case scenario: a single unanswered message becomes rejection. A slight discomfort in the body becomes a disease. A slow day in business becomes failure. That's the pattern of an undisciplined mind. It exaggerates, distorts, fabricates. But you don't have to follow it. You can break the chain, right where you are, with nothing more than the decision to pause and redirect. Every time the mind begins to spiral, you interrupt it, not with force, not with panic, but with the steady hand of awareness. You say, "I see this thought. I don't accept its story. I am here now." And just like that, the energy changes. Your nervous system shifts, your heart rate slows, your presence deepens. You take back your authority. Most people never interrupt the momentum. They let the mind drag them through unnecessary suffering. But not you, not anymore, because now you know. The mind only wins when you believe it blindly, and belief is a choice. Let me take you deeper. What you must understand is that your mind has been trained. By society, by school, by your past, by repetition. But anything that has been learned can be unlearned, and anything that has been repeated can be replaced. If you've spent years believing stress is normal, that anxiety is just how life is, you must now begin to install a new truth. That peace is not rare, that peace is not passive, peace is a muscle, and like any muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. It begins with small moments, the traffic jam, the rude email. The noise in your home, you pause, you breathe, you choose presence over reaction, and every time you do this, you build the habit. You create grooves in your mind that favor calm instead of chaos. You will notice something fascinating. When your mind is calm, solutions appear. Opportunities show up. People respond to you differently, not because the world has changed, but because you have. You are no longer radiating urgency. You are no longer vibrating at the frequency of fear. You've tuned into a different signal, and here's a truth most won't tell you. Urgency is often a lie. The world tells you to hurry, to panic, to act fast or be left behind, but calm is power. Calm sees clearly. Calm moves with precision. A man in panic may be fast, but he is rarely effective. The calm man, he strikes once, and it is enough. You don't need more noise to be successful. You need more silence. You don't need to hustle harder. You need to think clearer, and clarity is born from stillness, from applying this formula again and again, until it becomes who you are, not just something you do. So what happens when you fail, when the mind takes over again? You don't criticize yourself. That's what the old version of you would do. The new version simply observes, accepts, and returns, like a master swordsman who drops his weapon and picks it up again. No drama, just discipline. Because this isn't about perfection. It's about power. It's about presence. And every time you return to this formula, awareness, acceptance, breath, command, you grow in strength, quiet strength, invisible strength, the kind that cannot be faked, cannot be stolen, and cannot be shaken. You will come to a place where the outer world no longer controls your inner world, where people's opinions no longer disturb your peace, where fear may knock, but you no longer open the door, not because you've become cold, but because you've become centered. And that center, that inner stillness, becomes your compass. You'll begin to know things without being told, feel guidance without needing words, hear truth through silence. That's the territory of the calm mind. That's where intuition lives. That's where divine instruction speaks. Do you understand how valuable this is? Do you realize what kind of life is possible when your mind is not at war with you? Let me make this practical. Begin your day not with the world's noise, but with your own stillness. Before you check a screen, check your state. Before you look outward, look inward. Ask, where is my attention? Where is my breath? What am I feeding my mind today? You do this daily, and the results will compound. You'll notice how quickly you recover, how rarely you get caught up, how little you crave validation, because peace is satisfying. Peace is magnetic. Peace is success on the inside. People chase money but forget that peace is wealth. People chase followers but forget that peace is influence. People chase recognition but forget that peace is fulfillment. It is peace that allows you to enjoy what you've built. It is peace that lets you rest in the middle of progress. It is peace that keeps you from becoming your own enemy. And here's something important. This formula is not just for you. It's for everyone around you. Your calm becomes their comfort. Your presence becomes their safety. Your peace becomes their permission. You want to be a leader, a real leader, then learn to calm your mind, because the man who can remain steady when all others shake, he becomes the anchor, the lighthouse, the voice others follow, not because he shouts, but because he speaks from stillness. When your presence carries peace, you don't need to convince people with fancy words. They feel it, they lean in, they trust you, not because of what you say, but because of how you are. And how you are comes from how you train your mind. It comes from how you hold your attention when no one is watching, from what you allow yourself to believe when things go wrong, from how quickly you remember who you are when doubt knocks at your door. You must become a master at remembering, remembering your calm, remembering your power, remembering your center. The world will try to make you forget. It will try to distract, provoke, confuse, and manipulate. But the one who remembers his center, the one who remembers this formula, cannot be fooled for long, because he has developed something most men never will, inner gravity. Inner gravity is that quiet force that keeps you grounded when everything is flying around you. It keeps you from chasing what doesn't matter. It pulls you back when your emotions try to run off with your future. It keeps you rooted in who you are. And the beautiful thing is, once you taste the strength of that inner gravity, you'll never again envy the man who has noise but no peace. You'll never again wish to trade your stillness for stimulation. You'll begin to love the feeling of control, of presence, of clear power, not the kind that needs applause, but the kind that leads in silence. Now I know there are days when this seems impossible, days when the chaos is loud and the thoughts come fast and heavy, days when your heart pounds and the future feels uncertain. That's why this formula must become your default, not your backup. You don't use it after you break, you use it to prevent the break. The moment you sense the storm rising, you pause, you bring your awareness back to now, you accept the sensation without judgment, you take a deep breath, slow and conscious, and then you speak to your mind with authority, peace now. You anchor yourself. This takes courage, it takes repetition, but it works. You see, we live in a culture that glorifies stimulation. Constant updates, endless scrolling, dopamine hits every few seconds. But what's the cost? An anxious mind, a restless soul, a heart that doesn't know what silence feels like anymore, and in that state we lose ourselves, we lose clarity, we lose the very essence of our inner compass. You must reclaim it. That means creating space, space for breath, space for reflection, space to do nothing at all, because in that space healing happens, realignment happens. You begin to separate what is essential from what is noise. You begin to hear yourself again, and let me tell you something. That voice inside of you, that voice that whispers instead of shouts, that voice that doesn't beg for attention, that's the voice of truth. That's the voice of knowing, but you'll never hear it if your mind is too loud. Silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of power, and every time you quiet the mind, you amplify your spirit. Every time you slow down your thoughts, you speed up your progress, because now you're not running blindly, you're walking with intention. You begin to notice things you missed before, opportunities disguised as silence, answers hidden in patience, strength built in stillness, and this becomes your way, not just a practice, but a lifestyle, not just an escape, but a return to your essence, to your core, to the part of you that was never afraid, never anxious, never lost. That part has always been there, it just needed the noise to stop so it could speak, and when you hear it, when you feel it, you'll wonder why you ever chased peace outside of yourself. You'll see clearly that nothing external ever had the power to disturb your internal without your agreement. That no person, no event, no setback ever had the final say. You did. You always did, and now you realize the real battleground was never outside. It was never your circumstances, your deadlines, your obligations. The real battleground was always within, and when you win there, when you calm the storm inside, the storms outside begin to lose their power over you. You don't react, you respond, you don't panic, you plan. You don't run, you rise. This is the work most avoid because it doesn't produce instant applause. There are no trophies for staying composed, no headlines for remaining centered, but the results, they're undeniable. Peace becomes your foundation. Power becomes your natural state, and purpose becomes your compass. Your vision sharpens. You stop second, guessing yourself because you've silenced the noise. You stop rushing into decisions because you've trained your breath to be slow. You stop feeling unworthy because you've stopped comparing your life to others. All of it begins to fall away, gently, naturally, because it cannot survive in the presence of deep, conscious peace. People will look at you and wonder what changed. They'll ask what your secret is, but it won't be something they can touch or measure. It'll be something they feel, something in your energy, something in your eyes, something in your tone, in your silence, in the way you enter a room. And it all began the moment you decided to reclaim your mind. You stopped letting every thought dictate your direction. You stopped entertaining every emotion as if it were the truth. You stopped giving permission to the fears that used to paralyze you. You saw them for what they were, shadows, echoes, ghosts of an old self you've outgrown. You started treating your mind like sacred ground. You began guarding your attention as if it were gold. You became selective about what you fed your inner world. You chose books over drama, stillness over noise, solitude over meaningless company, and that choice, that was the pivot. You must protect your peace like a king protects his throne, not with aggression, but with discernment. Not with walls, but with wisdom. You decide what enters. You decide what stays. And anything that threatens your calm must be either transformed or released. You understand now that your calm is not weakness. It's the highest form of strength. Because anyone can scream, anyone can react, but to remain composed in the heat of pressure, that is the mark of mastery, that is the evidence of inner greatness, and with this mastery comes clarity. You stop chasing things that don't align with your values. You stop wasting energy trying to control what was never yours to control. You stop overthinking every move because you've learned to trust your own rhythm. You act from knowing, not guessing. It's no longer about speed. It's about precision. It's no longer about quantity. It's about depth. You can say less and mean more, do less and accomplish more, rest more and receive more, because the quality of your energy is no longer scattered. It's focused, directed, pure, and that's what makes you magnetic. Not your words, not your achievements, but your frequency. The peace you carry becomes your signature. People may not even understand why they're drawn to you, but they'll feel safer in your presence, clearer in your guidance, calmer in your company, because you've done what most haven't dared. You've mastered the inner terrain. You've sat with your thoughts when they scared you. You've breathed through the noise when it threatened to break you. You've stood still while the world demanded you run. And in that stillness you found something most never find, self-possession. The ability to remain unmoved when others are shaken. The ability to stay grounded when the future looks uncertain. The ability to act from a place of truth, not trend. That's the result of this formula, not just temporary calm, but unshakable presence. And the more you walk this path, the more you realize you don't need more things, more noise, more movement. You need more you, the real you, the calm you, the aware, breathing, intentional you, and that version of you. He doesn't fear setbacks. He doesn't run from failure. He doesn't chase validation. He builds, he creates, he leads, not because he's trying to prove something, but because he's aligned with something higher. That alignment is everything. When your mind is calm and your spirit is aligned, you begin to walk with the confidence of someone who knows they are being guided, not by noise, not by pressure, but by a deeper intelligence, a divine rhythm that flows through the stillness. You begin to understand that timing is sacred, that some things are delayed not because you're failing, but because you're being prepared, and a calm mind has the patience to wait. A calm mind doesn't rush divine timing. The world is addicted to urgency, but urgency without clarity leads to mistakes, leads to burnout, leads to regret. A calm mind sees what others miss. It moves with quiet certainty. It doesn't flinch under pressure, it thrives in it. Because it's not reacting, it's responding. It's not grasping, it's choosing. And that is the difference between those who live accidentally and those who live intentionally. There's something extraordinary that happens when you begin to choose calm over chaos. You no longer become a slave to your moods. You're not tossed around by every wave of emotion, not consumed by every thought. You become the observer, the captain, the conductor of your inner world, and that authority over your inner state, That's the real definition of freedom. Most people believe freedom is about doing what you want. But real freedom is the ability to not be controlled by what you feel, to not be hijacked by anger, to not be suffocated by worry, to not be paralyzed by fear. That is the highest level of personal power. And you achieve it through the mastery of this formula. And as you keep applying it, you'll see how much energy you used to waste, arguing, doubting, replaying the past, worrying about things outside your control. You'll realize that all of that was just noise, and now with your calm mind you don't even step into those battles. You simply walk past them, unbothered, focused, clear, and others will notice. Not because you told them what you're doing, but because you show them. In your eyes, in your walk, in your tone, you'll become the example of what it looks like to walk in power without needing to perform, to command a room without raising your voice, to change the temperature of a conversation just by being there. You must understand the greatest transformations are internal. The greatest revolutions happen in silence. You won't need to announce that you've changed. Your energy will declare it for you. Your peace will speak louder than your words ever could. And when people bring chaos to your door, you won't match it. You won't absorb it. You'll remain still like a mountain. They'll wonder why their drama doesn't shake you, why their urgency doesn't infect you, why their fear doesn't recruit you, and the answer is simple. You've done the inner work. You've trained your mind to obey, not to control. And from that place, you begin to build a different life. Not a life built on reaction, but one built on vision. Not a life driven by survival, but one led by intention. A life where you no longer chase peace because you are peace. And from that peace, all things flow: creativity, solutions, relationships, wealth, purpose. And you realize this wasn't a formula for a moment. It was a formula for a mindset, a foundation for your future, a bridge from who you were to who you were always meant to become. Take command of your inner world, implement this formula, and anchor yourself in calm, conscious power. Because the truth is, you cannot lead others until you first learn to lead yourself. You cannot rise until you quiet the noise that's been pulling you down. And you cannot build a meaningful, lasting life on a foundation of restlessness. Calm is not a luxury. It is your access to clarity, to wisdom, to divine direction. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were before the world made you forget. Beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and noise, you are already whole, already equipped, already powerful,